Okay, so here's going to be the overhead console. Right now it's dark gray, so I do need to find some light gray paint, something closer to the light gray that's on the ceiling. Basically, I went ahead and took it apart. This is the guts of it here, so we'll go ahead and talk about this. Everything else is pretty easy to figure out how to take it apart with tabs and everything else. Light will be up here. It'll be sitting up in the ceiling like this, and then I can basically have a couple areas for sunglasses. The light will be there, and what you have to do is when you get this on the bottom of it, there's some mounting studs and all that stuff that's good for if you have the Ford F-150. But we're not going to need that. We're going to actually be drilling some holes probably right here to actually go into the bar that's up in the ceiling above the headliner. So again, I need to go ahead and repaint this, and the best thing to do to go ahead and get this off, so this is a tough one, get yourself a hacksaw blade, wrap some tape on it, make a nice little handle, kind of use it like a Japanese saw, hold it flush, and just kind of bring it across, and you can go ahead and cut all these things off nice and flush. In fact, you don't even have to worry about sanding them when you're done, because this works out really well. So I went ahead and zipped those all off to make it flat to modify this for the FJ. Okay, over here is what I've been at it all day. So here's the original little peanut bulbs that came with it, and I went ahead and bought these here. My last video I showed the part number and all that stuff from Amazon, a whole box, a bag of 10 for what some sites charge for 2, and again it's the 5 LEDs. And they basically go right in these little sockets right here. It's kind of hard to get in there, and you don't really want to put pliers on those. So the neat thing is, got handed to Ford, they actually got something right. Oh God, did I say that? So these little holes right here, you can actually push down, and that pops the bulbs out. That way you don't have to worry about damaging the bulbs. As far as the wires, I didn't get the plug. When I went ahead and got mine today, it didn't come with any wiring. So there's basically 3 tabs coming off right here. And that's where the plug would actually slide in with the factory wiring harness. Mine didn't have it. So the 3 tabs, that's what this little melt spot is here from my big old giant tip on my soldering iron. But I went ahead and actually tinned those, and then soldered on some wires and added some heat shrink. And the way this goes, guys, when you get this, okay, the wire all the way to the left, that's this one here, all the way to the left, that's the cabin lights, the ones that are always on. You shut the door and then they dim to shut off. The black one all the way to the right, that's your ground. And the middle one, that actually feeds the map lights. And the map lights on this particular console here, you just press the little clear lens. I'll show you that later on. These are actually the switches. They're actually replaceable and removable, which is kind of nice. And they push down on these tabs right here, and that turns these on as a map light. So this is going to be a dual purpose the way I'm going to wire it. When you open up the door, of course, it's going to come on with the regular lights, finally giving me some light up front. And then when the lights go out and all that stuff, I can still actually use it by pressing the lenses, and I'll have some really nice map lights. So again, all the way to the left, this will be the cabin on. The one in the middle is the map light. The one all the way to the right is ground. And basically, since I don't have a quick disconnect, I'm going to go ahead and turn this into like a little mini wiring cable. So if I ever need to change the bulb, you just kind of pull this out here. I'll show you when I put it back together the way it goes in and comes out. And then I can actually take these and just disconnect them from the female size, which I'll actually put on the wires that actually go and tie into the ceiling lights now. That way I can pull this down. I can actually pull these out and replace the bulbs if I have to. Hopefully LEDs, I hope I'll never have to touch it, but if you do, at least that'll make it easier. And again, I'm going to go ahead and dress it up. And I put a little clear tie wrap here just to kind of take a look. So if I do pull on it, it's not actually pulling on where I soldered it onto the tabs. Okay, so there we are. A couple tie wraps, little wire loom, some heat shrink over the actual crimps. This is the male part. And like I said, I'm going to put the female part on the other side. I don't want to really do them backwards, because if you don't disconnect the battery, if you're messing around with this and you take it apart, and this is up in the roof. You could actually have a short this way here. If these all come together, since they're female and they're all insulated, there's no way that you can actually get a short. So again, I'm going to come off the wires that are up in the existing light, tie into those. I don't know how much room's up there, so I'm not sure which way I'm going to do it, but then I'll end up with these here. And again, all I'll have to do is, if I ever need to take this down for any reason, take it out, pull these out, and this will be up in the roof, and I can just reconnect it when I'm done. This is kind of like my little homemade wiring harness. The biggest thing is, if you can get it with it, you'll save all this trouble. I've been out here for, oh god, at least an hour kind of working on this and kind of fabricating this up. Again, the biggest thing, even if you have the company, even if you have Ford's information, you'll have the plug, you'll have the wires, but you won't know what's what. So all the way to the left is cabin, this is the map light, and all the way to the right is the ground. Okay, looks like I got to wrap it up for tonight. I've gone about as far as I could go. Biggest thing will be cutting the hole and then getting this thing painted and installed and all put back together. So I'll keep you guys with me, take you along for the ride. Here's the wiring bundle I'm ready for. There's the female side. I'll turn this into a nice wire loom, and that way I have all the wires set up there, and sort of look factory. Nothing's better than pure factory, but what can you do when you're trying to modify it with stuff that didn't come with this particular model? I sure envy the guys that got the newer ones, all kinds of overhead consoles, but I'm not ready to give up, and I'm never going to part with my FJ, so we'll get this installed and see how it comes out. Okay, still prepping. This is the bottom of the unit, and basically on one of these two rectangles here is where I'm going to be able to mount it to the overhead bar that's in the roof of the FJ. I use some of this stuff here. That way when I do mount it, there won't be any possibility of vibration or rattling or noise or any of that stuff. The other thing is, I'm not sure, since I've never taken the roof down, about the clearance. So I just happen to have a couple of these foam blocks. Forget what I bought. Maybe this was from a grill, the packing material. Anyway, anytime I see something like this, I just go ahead and save a couple of them just in case I ever need them. And what I should be able to do is trim them and actually put them in the ceiling just to bring it down about another inch, I guess. And that'll take care of the concave ceiling versus the concave nature of this holder here. So again, I'll trim these down so it just pushes it down about maybe even just a half an inch. Give me something solid. I'll probably end up gluing one of these, actually the top of these, to the actual roof of the FJ, the metal, and that way the bottom isn't glued on in case I ever need to pull the headliner later. And I'm going to actually probably put those on either side up in the roof. So again, let this dry, and now I've got my rubberized pads, and I still need to go ahead and later on prime this and then go grab some paint so I can paint it up. Okay, so this is my two sprayed on rubber pads. They basically just have to dry now a bit more, and then I'll have a nice little rubberized armor coat to go up into the upper portion of that headliner. Later on today, again, priming and painting. Okay, out of the country for a week, but now I'm back. Everything is nice and dry. Went ahead and assembled this last night. So anyway, that's the color of the interior of the FJ. And of course, that was the original color in there, with kind of a darker gray. But this will be nice. That's the unit. Spread a little bit of rubber on there. I'll double check before I put the screws in. After I drill the holes, I might use some rubber washers and stuff up in there. And of course, there's the wiring pigtail. So that's basically the way it's going to go in. Should come out pretty nice. Down inside here, have the LED bulbs. So again, these will come on with the cabin lights, hopefully. And they'll dim as the cabin lights go out. And then I can actually bypass it and then push these in. These are actually map lights also, so that'll be interesting for a change. So what else do we have here? Here's the template I made last time. This is the front. This should be 6 inches, which represents this front edge here, to the base of the mirror, and that should give me a good point to go, a good place to go ahead and cut the hole. Man, that's a big hole too. I only get one shot at this. So I've checked and double checked, and I just need to get this template mounted in the top of the roof, and at the same time, I should say the headliner, and make sure it's all plumb and square. And then I'm going to trace it with a number 2 pencil, and then use the razor knife here with a nice fresh blade to go ahead and cut the hole nice and slowly so it comes out. Again, I need the headliner to come down because there's a slight arch here. So I have some foam blocks. I got a voltmeter, got my secondary wire bundle after I pull down the light inside the cabin. And over here, here's a little quick wiring diagram. Here's the two lights here, the wires. So I'll take that all apart, use my meter here to make sure I know what's what, because I should have a ground, a cabin light that dims after a while and it shuts off, and then of course full hot all the time, which is for the map lights. So let's go ahead and get started today. Okay, so the dome light, you see there's 4 tabs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Best thing to do is to get up in there with when you're trying to get this out of here, is to go ahead and push those back. What I like to use is one of these. Just something that's plastic and get up in there. It doesn't mar, it doesn't make a mess out of anything. And now that should do the trick. So my thing now is I have a ribbon. Isn't that nice? So I would imagine this goes straight through. And it looks like this snaps into place, which powers up the unit here. So what I'm going to need to do is separate these 3 wires right up in here. There's 3 conductors, so I'll probably, since it's continuous, I'll probably separate from this side since I have just a smidge more slack. That's pretty much all I get there. And I'm going to tap into these 3 wires, and then I can run my wire extensions. This bar here is what should be located pretty close to where I'm going to put the overhead panel and stuff in. And it looks like, yeah, this isn't very thick material, so it should be pretty easy to cut with a razor knife. Anyway, so I need to tap into these 3, so I'm going to separate them, strip them back, and try to figure out what wire is what. So I should have a ground, and then 2 power wires, a constant power for the map lights, and then one of the leads should actually be for the dome light on a timer. Okay, I found out by pulling just a little bit more, it released some tape, giving me a little bit more room. Basically cut the ribbon with a razor blade, kind of separating the wires here. Now I just need to tap into this so I can take some voltage readings to make sure I know what wire is what. And then I should be able to tap onto those. Again, looks like the ceiling's pretty thin material, so cutting it with the razor knife should be a piece of cake. So I think before I go ahead and tap into this, I might as well go ahead and mount the unit, since I do know that's the wire. And I should be good to go. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, to make things easier, I got the middle of this fixture here. Can't tell if that's coming out okay with a piece of tape. Goes all the way down the center to the middle of the mirror. And then from the base of the mirror to the template is exactly 6 inches. On the template I've got center lines, and all you have to do is line it up on the middle of the tape, and it saves a lot of time on measuring. Although I did measure it, because I only want to do this once. This is all the stuff I need to cut out here, so let's go ahead and get that drawn, and then get this cut. Really apprehensive about this, because these roof panels here are over $1,000. But I really want this light in, so let's go ahead and give it a go. Again, it's pretty thin, so I'm going to try using a razor knife. Alright, using the old number 2 pencil, I was able to go ahead and trace the template. I'll go ahead and cut this out. At this point here, if you check it out, which you can do, you can basically just take everything off and use a good upholstery cleaner to get the lead off from the pencil or the graphite. But I'm going to give it a go, mates. I really want to put this in. So fingers crossed. Oh my God, what have I done? No, I'm only kidding. So there's a little bit of a foam spacer here. I'm probably going to go ahead and cut this back. It's what helps to keep this from hitting the roof. Here's the burr I was hoping to get to, because that's the one I need to drill into eventually to mount the unit. And this is the piece here. I'm going to keep this for, well, you just never know. I guess I could always sort of patch that up if I really had to, but I'm going to go ahead and take this out. Again, cut this back, trim this back a little bit here. and then test fit. It is really close, so now I can see why they did use spacers to go ahead and bring this down. But again, it is brought down by these anyway, so it's not like it's going to hurt the sound or anything like that from that speaker in the roof. So let me go ahead and get this cleaned up and get a test fit and see what we look like. Alright, so the spacing material there, I cut out this chunk here. I'm going to hold on to this. I may need it today for anything else up there, but this is pretty tough stuff. I had a hard time cutting it with a fresh razor and everything. I just happen to have a pair of, they look like heavy-duty scissors, but they're actually a type of tin snip. And this went ahead and cut right through it. But other than that, you'll be fighting it. You can get it with a razor knife, but it's going to be a lot of work. So anyway, this seemed to do the trick, and let's go ahead and try a test fit. Alright, and that's the test fit there. That's it. That's as far as it goes. Oh, I guess I'm done. Now I'm looking. So I need to bring the ceiling down with a couple of spacers. So let's give that a go. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like that bar going across is going to line up pretty good with this, with the center hump that's right there. So for now, let's go ahead and lower that roof with some of these spacers I have here. And let's see if we can't get this in. Okay, so with the spacers readjusted, that's how she's going to sit, and actually bowed the roof just enough to match the bow that's on this. And it doesn't look too bad. Alrighty then, so let me go ahead and finish up with mounting some holes. I'll take you guys through that, a good way to mount holes without making a mistake. And let me pull this out of the way. And there's the foam blocks I have that are up in there. So I need to bring the back down just a smidge. And actually add a bit of an arc, so I might use a little piece of that stuff that I cut off to go ahead and get this part here to arch just a little bit. So I'll probably put something up in there and actually push this down just a hair. And then it'll actually mount with 2 screws up into here. And then I'll just have to go ahead and mess around with, looks like mess around with the wiring. It shouldn't be actually a piece of cake. Alright, so this is my coat hanger snake. There's the 3 wires. I'm actually going to use 3 pieces of wire to extend these after I cut them. And then I'll twist them all together and put a type of crimp that's called the termination crimp on there. And that'll basically give me room off these pigtails in case I ever have to use this in the future, since I don't have a whole lot of wire here. And of course what I've done over here is made up this little guy here. Again, this will actually be the female portion for the light fixture that I made, and then here's the basically wiring harness all loomed up that's going to go up in the ceiling here. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and snake some wire. Alright, this is how we look right now. Couldn't use a termination splice, there just wasn't enough room. So I connected the wires back up the way they're supposed to go, but put these leads off of them. And that way I can trim the end of these and take some voltage readings and find out what's what. I'm thinking this one here may be the one for the door. But anyway, I just need to go ahead and figure that out, and then I can go ahead and splice this all together and clean it up and put this fixture back, and then try it out with the new overhead light and make sure everything works. So that's where I'm at right now. Just take your time with this. Again, there's no room. I found it better to just kind of bend it this way and get in here and be able to get at the wires, but there's really not a whole lot of room. So just take your time with this. It's a little fussy. And once I figure out what the wires are, I can leave one white. I need one black for ground, and I need a red one. And I believe the red on my diagram. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, red and black, that's going to be the map light. Once I get that sorted out, I decided to go ahead and use some liquid nails. I'm going to take these pads that I have up there and actually glue a portion of it to the headliner itself. And that way, if you ever pull the headliner down, that comes down with it. And again, it can be tore off if you don't want it. It's either that or I can actually glue it to the roof. And I'm not sure if I want to do that. It's easier just to do it to the head. That way it doesn't shift or move for any reason at all. So let's go ahead and get some liquid nails on these actual spacers. Let's see if I can help you guys out if you get into this. Again, it's a ribbon type wire. Nothing's labeled. If you look at schematics, it shows wire and it shows them all white for obvious reasons. So here's the way it works. If you can see this ribbon Okay, so the closest one to you, if you have the light pulled off like this is the ground. The one in the middle of this ribbon, that's actually the map light. And the map light is always hot. That would be if you went to just dome on here and not the door it would be on. And then the other one is the door light. The one that, which is the furthest one away on that ribbon, if you can see it right there. This one here is actually the door light. So when you shut the door, it stays on for a little bit and then it dims till it shuts off. So you got ground, always hot, which you use for the map light. And this is the door one here, the furthest one on that ribbon. You can see it right there. This one here, the white wire, is the one that goes to the door and the one that dims when it shuts off. So, time to get this all buttoned up. And then once I get it connected, I'll give it a go and show you guys with the overhead. It's not installed yet. I still have some drilling to do and tapping out inside this bar. But the spacers are done and the blocks are glued in against the headliner, and it'll be nice. It'll pull up a little bit and hopefully look really factory. So give me just a minute. Let me go ahead and get this buttoned up on this side and we'll give it a go. And when you're all done, you should have something that sort of looks like this. I'll go ahead and use some tie wraps, probably some of this wire loom, some tape, make this all nice and pretty before I go ahead and stuff it up in the ceiling. But at least it's all hooked up. So all I have to do now is connect this side to the unit and then give it a try. Okay, here's the test run. So when we open up the door, it's going to come on. You can see it actually comes up slowly, just like the regular dome lights. Shut it off. And you can always go and turn on anytime you want the map lights, and these are LED bulbs. That's exactly what I wanted. Now the easy part, I hope, is just getting it mounted since everything's all figured out. Get this mounted up, get the regular dome light cleaned up, mounted up, and then I'll show you guys the finished product. Alright, we're going to try the old fingernail polish trick. So what I'll do is I'll take this stuff here and I'll put a couple dots up there on the bar. And this is where I tied off the power that I have coming up. And then I'll put the unit in place, press it up against the fingernail polish, pull it out, and that'll give me an area to drill into right in the middle. And that way I'll know I'm safe. I like to use a fingernail polish because it dries really quick versus paint, which would take a long time to dry, or you'd end up wiping it off or something like that. So fingernail polish works great. So alright, there's one dot, there's the other dot. Let's put the unit in place and see if we can't get a good mark. Don't know how many times you guys do this, but I mean, I've got a storehouse I've been building up for like 30 years, and I replenish it when I can, stainless steel and all the rest of it. But I always have kind of a miscellaneous screw drawer, and sometimes when I'll assemble something or buy something that comes with some extra stuff, I just throw it in here. And what's good about it in this case is I just happen to have two self-tapping screws. The quarter drive, which is kind of nice to get that up in there. And then to drill the holes, I don't want to go through and actually end up going through the roof, so I have a stop here. Some people use tape. I have a whole bunch of these different size metal stops here, so I can drill and it'll actually just stop as soon as I hit this, so it doesn't go too deep. So I'll blast those two out before I put it up. I'll take the old driver here and the self-taps and go ahead and thread the holes. And that should be good. Then when I put it up there, I can actually use a little bit of thread lock on there, seal it in place, and I should be done. Okay, that's it right there. You can see with the spacers up there, I was able to match the arc. And of course now, I have lights anytime I want. I no longer have to rely on these little battery-operated jobbers that you just kind of twist on. I've had this for years. I can finally take them off and put them somewhere else. Plus, sunglass holders, one for the wife and one for me. And then of course when you open up the door, alright, so that's a good old mission accomplished there. And I'd say it almost looks factory, except the way the lights are, they're clear, so I don't know, I'm okay with it. I think it kind of looks factory. The LEDs are a big help. but now my truck has just a pinch of Ford F-150. And I installed this the last time, so I can shut all that off if I want to. Flick of a switch. Anyway, that's on a different video. That's about it. I've used up all the blank spots in here. Too bad this isn't worth anything. Maybe one of these days I'll use it for something, since this radio here has a forward input, a front USB, and the rear one I brought through, and that actually sits here, and I can close this off, kind of make it look factory if I want to. And that's always nice. I think I have my FJ where I want it. Anyway guys, I'm really happy with this. With the spacers I showed you and stuff, you can pretty much get rid of all the gaps. You don't even really notice the fact that this is kind of humped down, just because it came out so well. I gotta pat myself on the back on that one. It actually came out pretty darn good. At least now I've got all the storage I need. And up in here, I had bought this little tray on Amazon that you can use to organize this whole thing, and this used to take the brunt of all the storage. Now I don't have to worry about glasses. Even when I did the trailer wiring, the brake controller is sitting right here, and that frees up some of the space in here. That's about it. Again, I'm going to go ahead and get this on the YouTube for you, and if you're interested in doing something like this, that's how you do it. So even if you don't want this one, and you want to get something made with just one sunglass holder, and you're worried about the depth, again, you saw how you can use fillers and spacers to go ahead and lower this to get whatever you want. That way it doesn't have to be some big bulky thing sticking up on the surface. Nothing wrong with that, but I just like it clean looking. So it wasn't that bad. It mainly just took some patience, and this one here is all back in place. And then of course this one back there in the door. All the speakers have been replaced too, even the ones in the back. That's another time. Alright, that's it. Let's go ahead and get this on YouTube.